You finish the show, close the app, eat the meal, buy the thing, hit the goal, and a few minutes later you feel exactly the same as before. Maybe worse. You expected satisfaction, and instead you got a strange emptiness, followed almost immediately by the urge to do it again. Watch one more episode. Check the app one more time. Buy one more thing. You've felt this loop 1,000 times and you still mistake it for pleasure, when really it's your brain quietly telling you that it was never actually fed. It was just stimulated. Satisfaction and stimulation feel similar in the moment, but they are almost opposites in what they leave behind. Stimulation spikes fast and drains fast, and it always asks for more of itself to feel the same again. Satisfaction builds slowly and it stays. It doesn't beg you to repeat it immediately. You already know this difference from experience, even if you've never named it. A long, deep conversation with someone you love leaves you calm and full. An hour of scrolling leaves you twitchy and slightly worse than before you started. Both technically felt good in the moment, but only one of them actually satisfied anything. Your brain evolved for scarcity, not abundance. For most of human history, sugar was rare, novelty was rare, social approval was hard-won, and rest had to be earned through actual physical effort. Your dopamine system rewarded you for chasing these things because chasing them kept you alive. But now sugar, novelty, approval, and rest are all available instantly and endlessly, and your ancient reward system has no idea how to handle that. It still fires the same chase it signal it always did, except now there's an infinite supply of things to chase, so the chase never actually ends in the feeling it's supposed to end in. You are, quite literally, running satisfaction-seeking software on a world it was never designed for. This is why you can eat a whole bag of chips and still feel unsatisfied, while a simple home-cooked meal, eaten slowly, can leave you genuinely content. It's why 40 minutes of mindless scrolling feels emptier than 10 minutes of an actual phone call with someone you care about. Quantity was never the variable that mattered. The type of engagement was. Ancient philosophy figured this out long before neuroscience had a name for dopamine. Epicurus, who is constantly misunderstood as some guy who just wanted endless pleasure, actually taught the opposite. He divided desires into 3 categories: natural and necessary, like food, shelter, friendship; natural but unnecessary, like a fancier meal than you need; and vain and empty, like fame, status, or unlimited wealth. He said that real satisfaction only comes from the first category, and chasing the third category actively destroys your ability to feel content, because those desires have no natural stopping point. There's no amount of status that ever feels like enough status. There's no amount of scrolling that ever feels like enough scrolling. You can't satisfy an appetite that was never designed to end. You spend most of your energy chasing category 3. More followers. More money than you need. More options than you could ever use. And you wonder why none of it lands the way you expected. It's not because you haven't gotten enough of it yet. It's because that category was never built to satisfy you in the first place. It was built to keep you wanting. The Buddhist framing of this is even more direct. It says that craving itself is the source of dissatisfaction, not the absence of the thing you're craving. You assume that if you just get the thing, the craving will stop. But craving doesn't work like a debt that gets paid off. It works like a habit that gets reinforced. Every time you chase a craving and get temporary relief, you strengthen the exact circuit that will make you crave again soon. This is why satisfaction never comes from getting more. It comes from interrupting the craving loop itself, not by suppressing it violently, but by noticing it clearly enough that it loses its grip on you. You can test this yourself. Next time you feel the urge to check your phone for no reason, pause for 10 seconds before you do it and just notice the urge itself. Not judge it. Just watch it, the way you'd watch a wave rise and fall. Most of the time, the urge passes on its own within those 10 seconds, and you realize you didn't actually need the thing you were about to chase. You just needed to notice the craving instead of obeying it instantly. This is where flow comes in, a concept psychologists have studied for decades but philosophers understood intuitively for centuries. Flow is what happens when you're so absorbed in something that time disappears and your usual internal chatter goes quiet. It happens when the challenge in front of you matches your skill level closely enough that you're fully stretched but not overwhelmed. Flow states are some of the most satisfying experiences a human being can have, and notice what they have in common. They almost never come from consumption. They come from engagement. You don't get flow from watching. You get it from doing, from playing an instrument, cooking a meal with focus, having a real conversation, solving a hard problem, moving your body in a sport you actually care about. Your brain isn't actually built to feel satisfied by passive input, no matter how much of it you consume. It's built to feel satisfied by meaningful output, by using your attention and effort on something that matters to you. This is why an hour spent creating something, even something small and imperfect, tends to leave you feeling more full than an hour spent consuming something polished and effortless. Passive intake was never going to be the thing that filled you up. Gratitude works on a similar mechanism, though it looks completely different on the surface. Marcus Aurelius, in the middle of running an empire, kept coming back to a simple discipline, noticing what he already had instead of constantly imagining what he lacked. This wasn't about forcing fake positivity. It was a practical recognition that dissatisfaction is often less about your actual circumstances and more about the gap between what you have and what you keep imagining you should have. You can shrink that gap without acquiring anything new, just by paying honest attention to what's already in front of you. Your brain doesn't register abundance automatically. It registers whatever you actively pay attention to, and if you never direct attention toward what's already good, your brain will assume nothing is good, no matter how much you actually have. There's also a simpler, almost embarrassingly basic factor at play here, and its presence. Your brain cannot feel satisfied by an experience it wasn't actually present for. You can eat an incredible meal while distracted and register almost nothing from it. You can be with people you love while mentally somewhere else and walk away feeling like nothing happened. Satisfaction requires your attention to actually be where your body is. This is the entire reason meditation practices exist across nearly every wisdom tradition. Not to make you calm as some abstract goal, but to train your attention to actually land on your experience instead of skating past it toward the next thing. You've probably had the experience of eating a meal so fast, while distracted, that you don't even remember tasting it. Compare that to slowly eating something simple, paying attention to each bite. The second version, even with less exciting food, usually leaves you more satisfied, because satisfaction was never really about the food. It was about whether your brain actually got to register the experience. So here's what actually makes your brain feel satisfied, based on both ancient philosophy and modern understanding of how your reward system works. First, distinguish between wants that have a natural stopping point and wants that don't, and be honest about which category you're chasing. Second, notice cravings before obeying them, because most cravings, once observed instead of acted on immediately, lose most of their power. Third, chase engagement over consumption, because your brain fills up from doing, not from watching. Fourth, actively direct attention toward what you already have, because satisfaction depends more on noticing than on acquiring. Fifth, slow down enough to actually be present for your own experiences, because an experience you weren't really there for can't satisfy you no matter how good it was. None of this requires you to quit anything cold turkey or overhaul your entire life. It requires you to get honest about which of your daily habits are stimulating you and which are actually satisfying you, and to notice how different those two feelings are once you know what to look for. Your brain isn't broken, and it isn't asking for more input. It's asking for real input, attention that actually lands, engagement instead of consumption, and a little more honesty about which desires were ever going to end in enough. Try it today with something small. Eat one meal without your phone. Have one conversation with your full attention. Notice one craving instead of obeying it instantly. Your brain has been quietly starving in the middle of abundance, and the fix was never more. It was always about actually showing up for what's already there.